Good afternoon, everybody. This is Nicholas Golden, and this is just a quick review of my home lab. What we got here is a rack full of routers and switches. This is all sitting in a Chatsworth rack, which is taller than I am. I'm 6'3". This thing is 7 foot tall. Holds about 45 single unit routers or switch. These are considered single unit. If it takes 4 holes, it's considered a 2U. What we have down here is a couple 2950s, 3550, 33640s. These are 2501s, a 2522, and a 2511. Now I'm gonna put a theory out there, and I'm gonna let you know something right off the bat. You can do the entire CCNA course, and this is gonna surprise you. You could do it with 2 or 3 of these. And maybe one of these 2950s, maybe 2 2950s. You don't need a lot of fancy stuff in order to pass the CCNA. In fact, I bought all this equipment when I started on my CCNA back in March of 2009. I passed the CCNA on May 15th of 2009. It happened to be the same day that I got laid off from my job. Yeah, it's great. Celebration for me, right? And then I started on my CCNP, and I finished my CCNP on September 2nd of 2009. I basically took all the time off from looking for work, even though I was looking for work. There just wasn't a lot out there. Concentrated, studied, and just made it happen. And my advice to anybody that's going for the CCNA or the CCNP, you gotta focus on the basics, and you gotta learn how things work. What you gotta do is you gotta read the theory, get a basic understanding, and then do some labs to get hands-on experience to reinforce your basic understanding. And you keep doing that until that you can configure a VLAN off the top of your head. You know exactly what to do when you're configuring an IP address on the interface. You're very comfortable with subnetting. You're very comfortable with the different class addresses. You're very comfortable with just about everything that you can do on a basic level with a router or switch. The next thing you want to do is you want to read additional theory to gain an expert level understanding. And when I say an expert level, when you're at the CCNA level, you're learning the basics. You're learning how STP works, how VLANs work, how frame relay works, a very important topic, how to do subnetting. For those of you who think you can skip by on the CCNA exam and not learn subnetting, you're going to come up for a nasty surprise when you sit in the exam room and just see how much subnetting there really is. Because every question in itself is either directly or indirectly related to subnetting. Now I just realized this video has just been staring at the rack while I've been just going on and on, but I think these concepts are very important to apply. Learn the basic configurations, master them, add on to the basic configurations, and just keep on going. The three magic rules that I can give to you are configure, validate, and troubleshoot. You configure the technology, you make sure that it works, you validate to make sure that your configurations work and everything's great, and you only have to troubleshoot is if step 1 and 2 don't work. If you can keep that attitude and be persistent and just focus on the basics and don't go focusing on what I like to call stupid router tricks, like, you know, setting a switch port to some weird security mode where it locks you out of the router, and you have to do some kind of password recovery on that. That's not going to help you on the job, and it's not going to help you in real life, and it's not going to help you on the exam. You want my advice? Focus on the basics and master them. Take your time, move on to the next subject, and then keep reviewing. Don't just learn something, go on to the next thing and not review it, because you're going to forget everything you just learned. Trust me, I know. What I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm just going to power on this rack here, and you're going to get a view of what's going on. For those of you who've already passed your CCNA and CCNP, I'm sure you know what's going on here. Probably take a guess. This is a layer 3 switch. These are two layer 2 switches. And a layer 3 switch just means that it can do routing. Of course, you got to use the IP routing command in order to make that happen. In order to do inter-VLAN routing. I have some ether channels set up on here. This is just a three switch environment. And actually you can see on this topology right here, these are the top 4 routers. This is the cloud, which is actually this guy right here. These are 3 catalyst switches, layer 2 and layer 2 switch. This is a 3550. And then we have these are signifying it's going off to an Ethernet segment. And you know, we got some other things going on there. This is the basic topology that I use to run EIGRP, OSPF, I do BGP, IS to IS, although I'm studying for the CCIE routing and switching exam right now, so IS to IS isn't on there. But if you're going for the CCNP exam, it will be on there, so you have to learn it. It's a pain in the ass, but get through it and move on. If you get lucky enough and you happen to work for a service provider later on, you're going to find out that there's a lot of IS to IS out there and a lot of BGP. And BGP you're going to have to know. But I digress. I'm getting off keel here. But just focus on the technologies and learn everything that you can. And what I'm going to do is, using the magic wonders of the one-armed bandit, I'm going to pull this thing out. Take you a tour on the back here. This is the frame relay switch. You see it's got ports 0 through 9. So you basically have 10 ports. Now a lot of people will just use the frame relay switch just for switching. Well, remember, a frame relay switch is just a router that you enable to be a frame relay switch, you know, through the through various commands, and you can set it up with DELCs, and I'm sure you'll learn all about that in your CCNAs if you haven't already. But you can also use these existing ports that are available for other routing functions. Like I could add to this topology right here and say, you know, that this cloud, which actually represents this 2522, I could draw another router over here and connect it to here, and that even though on this physical topology, or I should say I could make another diagram to be logical, we could have another router sitting right here with another serial interface going to it, and that even though the router is actually the frame switch, I could use it and use it for other things, like if I wanted to expand my topology, but I haven't had the need to do that. And maybe one day I will, when I get new equipment. I do need to upgrade this rack. You know, I was originally going to buy a bunch of 2811s and a 3825 plus three or four 3560s, but you know, at $15,000 plus, hey, it's not worth it. Not worth it to me. So I'll show you what I do instead. And this will be a shameless plug, but I love these guys. I'm using IP Expert for my CCIE routing and switch, and I rent rack time online from them, which is much bigger and much more fancier than this, for about $300 for 10 sessions. You get 8 hours on the rack, you get to learn how everything works, and you get to go through the lab books and just, you know, really break everything down into basic tasks. And that's really the point, is that even at the CCIE level, like what I'm doing, it's no difference between if you're a CCNA candidate, you still got to go through the basics, and when you get to the CCIE level, you still got to go through the basics, break every task down, no matter how complicated it is. For example, you see a couple of WAN connections, and you got OSPF going on. Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to examine, okay, it's a WAN connection. Well, there's two possible scenarios for a WAN connection: HDLC or PPP. Not that hard. You break it down to the most simple component. Frame relay, remember, that's a layer 2 technology. You gotta get layer 2 working before you get to layer 3. Those kinds of things, you know. You gotta make sure your lab is physically cabled correctly. Double check it against your topology exam, and all these kinds of things. I realize this video is running a little late, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it short, but I wish you the best to all those who are studying for the exams, and do it up, and see you next time.